Hello everyone, I'm Soma Mazumdar.
And I'm Orod Semsarzadeh, and welcome to Kanban Lab podcast. In each episode, we'll pick a common question and dive into a different aspect of Kanban, exploring its principles, practices, and applications, and answering that question.
Our goal in this podcast is to demystify Kanban and help listeners understand how it can benefit their teams and organizations through addressing the common misconceptions, clarifying concepts, and answering questions about Kanban. Morning, Orod.
Good morning, Soma. How are you today?
I'm a bit under the weather, but I think I'll be fine. What about you?
No, I'm doing actually really good. And today, Melbourne is cold and cloudy. How's the weather in Sydney?
Same. Cold and cloudy. Well, not very cold as compared to Melbourne, I believe, but
Yeah.
yes.
All right. So take care of yourself. I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. Well,
Okay, so let's go to our topic today. So, what have you heard recently about Kanban that surprised you?
uh, this won't be surprising you for sure, but this did made me laugh. So someone said to me, we are self-selecting, so we already have a pull system in place.
Mm, that's a really good one because a lot of people think that when we say, we empower the people or self-organize people or
Mm,
manage the work, not the worker, and let worker to decide what is the best option to
yeah,
pull and all those kind of thing. That doesn't necessarily means that people can pull anything they want,
I
isn't
know.
it?
Yes, but it also made me think that maybe it's important for us to describe or explain what pull system really means.
Exactly. So maybe I can go back again to the basic and the
Let's do that.
definition of Kanban
Mm,
and what Kanban means, and
mm,
then how we can use it to pull the work
mm.
and then see how we go. So
Yeah.
in last few episodes, we talked a little bit about what Kanban is, the terminology of Kanban, and we said
Yes.
Kanban influenced by the Japanese version, which means signal. And we
Signal,
said
exactly.
when we look at the Kanban board,
Yeah.
it should send a signal and said, I have capacity
Mm.
and I'm ready to pull the next work.
Yes,
So if we don't have this signal on the board, that means we don't have a Kanban.
exactly. And we should also talk about it. So, how do you create those signals? There are a few ways,
Yeah.
definitely. So one of the most easiest way to create that signal is having a WIP limit, work in
Mm-hmm.
progress limit, on top of your column or the work stage that it is in. So
That's right.
for example, now because
Mm-hmm.
it's a podcast and not a vidcast, so we cannot show everyone what we are going to talk about, but let me try and make it as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, Orod, we are in a team where we have our work goes through design,
Mm-hmm.
it goes to development, testing, UAT, and done. That's our
Yeah.
workflow.
Sure.
And then we have, the ready column.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ready column will have the work that is ready to be worked on for this, let's say this week, because
Mm-hmm.
our replenishment or planning happens every week. Now,
Okay.
the ready column should have some kind of WIP limit or work in progress limit on top
Mm-hmm.
of it. So let's say the ready column has 5.
Mm-hmm.
The design has 4 as WIP limit. So whenever I
Okay.
say WIP, it means work in progress. So I'm just going to be referring WIP in the rest of the episode. So the design has 4,
Yeah.
the development has 4, and the testing has 3.
Mm-hmm.
UAT is unlimited or unbounded. and
Mm-hmm.
done is unlimited or unbounded. That means
Sure.
there are no WIP. So the moment, let's say
Mm-hmm.
today's the first day of the week and we are to our replenishment, the first thing that we do is that we look at the board. We look at everything. Like, for example, if our ready column has 4 tickets in it already,
Yeah.
it gives a signal to pull only 1 ticket into it or one piece of work into it. Because
Yes.
the signal is that, okay, the WIP limit, the maximum WIP limit you can have on top of the column,
Mm-hmm.
minus whatever is in the column. That
That's right.
helps you to understand what's the capacity.
Okay.
So yes, go
So
for it.
sorry to interrupt. So basically, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So the
Mm.
whip that you're talking about is the Kanban, right? That
Yes,
sends a signal and say there is a
yes,
capacity and we're
yes,
ready to pull the next work.
exactly,
Yeah. So
exactly.
if the number of works is less than the number of whip, that
Mm.
means we have some capacity.
Exactly. So in this case, because we already have 4 pieces of work in the ready column and the
Mm-hmm.
maximum number of WIP is 5, we are only allowed to pull 1 piece of work, not 5. And this is a
Yes.
common misconception. I
Mm-hmm.
have seen teams or people going through where they think that because it says 5, every time there is a planning happening or replenishment happening,
Mm-hmm.
they can pull all 5 pieces of work.
That's
Because
right.
the moment you do that, you disrespect the pull system, the WIP
Mm-hmm.
limit, and then it creates an automatic chaos.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to mention, and I think you also said it earlier. So this whip is the maximum number of work that
Yes,
we should have, not the minimum. So if
minimum,
the whip
exactly.
is 5 and you have 4, doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily means that you
you
must
have to.
pull them because
Exactly.
multiple people might work on the same
Same
job,
thing.
right?
Exactly. That's a very good
Or
point.
okay, so if we back to the myth that you heard recently that we are self-selecting and
Mm,
Kanban said don't manage the worker and manage the
mm,
work.
mm.
So the board sent a signal and said there is a capacity. How
Yes.
they can pull the system, pull the next work.
Mm. So I actually, yes, that's a very good point and wanted to touch on it that how this is not a push system. Uh, so now imagine like you are in the dev column. So earlier I mentioned that dev has 4 maximum capacity or maximum WIP limit,
Mm-hmm.
and testing is 3. So let's say that testing is at capacity. So they have 3 piece of work in their column. They are working on it. However, 2 of the development work is done.
Mm-hmm.
So they are done with 2 of the work,
Yeah.
but now that's the catch, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even though they are done, they have to respect testers' capacity. That means they
Mm-hmm.
cannot push the work
Mm-hmm.
to the testing column
Yes.
just because they are done. So they
Yes.
have to wait for the tester to
Mm-hmm.
finish it. Now, there could be multiple things happening at the same time. Now,
Sure.
because they really wanted to finish this work as soon as possible, they might be like there could be a little bit of collaboration happening
Mm-hmm.
because 2 of the developers have done their work. They could
Yeah.
just go help the tester to test it, or like figure out that is testing becoming a bottleneck. So there's a
That's
lot
right.
of concept happening in that
Yeah.
one, but that's a different episode question. But at the same time, what I wanted to focus on is that how this is not a push system. Just
Okay.
because you finish your work, that doesn't mean
Yes.
that you can push it to the tester.
All right.
So
So just again to make sure, we all understand what you said,
mm,
the difference between push system and pull system is in push system, the people, when they finish their work, they throw over the fence and push it to the next person. But in
yes,
pull system, they have to wait until the
yes,
next person send a
mm,
signal and said, I have capacity, and then the
mm,
next person pull the work
yes,
when she is
yes.
available. Okay, so that's the
Exactly.
difference between push and pull. So
Pull.
now, the question is, if we have multiple works done, okay,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
have the capacity, how should I know which work should I pull first? Is
That's
this
a
up to me to decide,
Yeah.
or it's I need to talk to someone else? What is the best approach?
So the best approach would be because your ready column should already be denoting most of the time the priorities. So usually most of your work in your Kanban board should be standard. That means first in, first out. So you should follow that. And there could be few exception, as in like, if there is a fixed date lying in there, which
Mm-hmm.
means that it has a tight delivery date
Yeah.
deadline attached to it, you need
Mm-hmm.
to have that thinking that, okay, when should you start it so that you can finish it on time? So those
That's
will
right.
be exception. However,
Mm.
most of your work in your like ready column should be
Mm-hmm.
first in, first out. That also means that you are selecting from the top of the queue. You are not, looking for the easiest thing to finish
Mm-hmm.
from the bottom of the queue just because you want it. So
Yeah.
pull. Also, these things should be discussed in one of the cadences, the Kanban meeting,
Mm-hmm.
which is where like everyone should agree. Whenever someone has capacity, the team will also like agree together that who is pulling what based
Yeah.
on the capacity. So self-selecting,
Mm-hmm.
well, the team is selecting the work, they are working on it, but it is not that you would totally disrespect the team's priorities
Yeah.
and just work on what you want, because that is again going against the basic rule that,
Mm-hmm.
okay, respect each other, and we are all here to make our work better, like manage
Okay.
the work better.
Good. So when I have the capacity, one thing that helped me to understand what will be the next priority to pull is the
Mm.
cost of delay, which
Yes.
means how much we lose if
Mm.
if the work delay, right? So
Mm.
it can be because the work has a fixed date, so there is a deadline or something, so I
Yeah.
need to pull this one first.
Yeah.
Or if, everything has the same cost of delay, then
Mm.
I probably look at the age of the ticket and see which one is
Yes.
older, because we have a agreement with our customer, and
Mm.
ideally we need to deliver the work when customer expected within
Mm.
the
Mm-hmm.
service level agreement or
Yes.
expectation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now that's a really good one. So when we say pull system, basically that doesn't mean that people can pull whenever they want, whatever they want.
Yeah.
That means first they need to send a signal and say, I have capacity. When there is a
Mm.
capacity, then look at the cost of delay and see
Mm.
which one has the highest priority and then pick
Mm.
it up. And
Yeah.
that can be part of their policy. If
Yes.
the team is probably not mature enough, they don't really use those kind of cost of delay and they don't
Mm.
have a policy yet,
Mm.
then probably the best approach is to have a group discussion
Mm.
and as a group agree what will be the best approach. And hopefully you
Yes.
have someone to represent the customer as well in in that conversation,
Mm.
and make sure to pull the work that has the most value to the customer, to your
Yes.
customer. And this customer
Yeah.
can be internal or external.
Mm. Yeah. One other way is that when you're replenishing the queue, it's a good idea to have the discussion then and there so that everyone is on the same page, that what is the ranking of the priority in the ready column, so
Mm,
that whenever someone has capacity, there is no dependency or reliance on someone else to tell you what is the next highest priority, because that
mhm,
is already has been agreed and decided, and you can visualize that in your ready queue and keep them in order, like keep them properly ranked so that people know. So yes, what you mentioned, Orod, is that the age, depending
mm,
on the age. That's why the first in, first out is a good strategy, because that will also help you to understand and also work on the tickets, which is new and fresh.
mhm,
So there won't be anything old sitting there for a long time. That's what I meant. Sometimes like I say things in English which doesn't make sense to me even.
mm.
So it's, yeah, it's one of them,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. So yes, like first in, first out is a good approach because it will not let your work sit in there for a longer time because you have already um, applied the standard cost of delay
Mm,
prioritization on that.
yeah, good. All right, that I think clarifies a lot about what pull system means and how
Mm,
people can pull the next work. We
mm,
talk about the difference between pull and push, and so in push system, the person when finish the work, push it to the next one and probably start another work. In pull system, when the work is finished, you need to wait for the next person to be
mm,
available.
mm.
Um, all right, good. So we normally run like half an hour session, but today I think we covered most of the thing. Is
Most
there
of the
any?
things, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe today we can finish a little bit earlier. Is there anything else you want to add, Suma?
Just a question. Do we
Mm.
add the like what happens when there is a lot of blocked item in your
Ah,
column? Because
that's a
that,
good one.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. So sometimes you blocked internally, so which means there is in your boundary, in your
Mm,
capability and authority,
mm,
and you can do something to unblock it. So
mm,
probably that would make sense to prioritize those and try to unblock it rather than start a new work.
mm,
If the work is blocked by an external party, and you don't have any, maybe you don't have access to the parties, or they don't even know who you are, you can't really reach out to them, which hopefully that should be an edge cases. That
yeah.
shouldn't be something that happens every day. In this
Mm,
case, probably we can park them somewhere, escalate it to the right people to follow up with the third party,
mm,
still track how long they've been blocked, still follow up with our account managers or whoever can follow up with the external party, and then in this case, we can probably pull the next work. But
mm.
as I said, that shouldn't be,
Every,
shouldn't happen on daily basis. If it happens, then there is a big problem in the system, and we
it
need to
is,
find the root cause
yeah,
and resolve it properly.
yeah.
But once in a while, I think it's common when it
Mm.
happens.
Well, to give you an example, Orod, a team that I am working with, they have this problem where they have external dependency and
Mm,
items are usually blocked for more than 3 weeks.
mm,
And it has been happening like almost forever.
mm.
The thing is that sometimes you have to just visualize and also get the data how it is impacting everything else within your system, because at the end when you go and tell them we are blocked, sometimes people might not understand the impact of it. So
Yeah.
the idea is that if you can show the impact in terms of like dollar value, that because of this the other deliveries were delayed and this is
Mm,
how it translated into dollar value or other
sure.
kind of impact, that might
Yeah,
help people to have a look at
exactly.
it in a
And
different perspective.
if this is something that constantly happening in your
Mm,
case, then
mm.
probably that's an indicator that show them that they haven't done enough discovery in advance. So
Yeah.
they haven't identified the blocker and dependency first. Because
Mm, mm.
if you know that you have a dependency to another party and it's constantly happening, then you need to identify them first. Maybe start a conversation with the third party, give a heads up that this is going to happen at this time or around this time. So be ready, be prepared, that
Mm,
kind of thing to reduce the waiting time. Because
mm.
to me, that's not acceptable, but it's a
Yes,
good indicator that
exactly.
shows you need to do more discovery in your
Mm,
upstream, or
mm.
maybe you don't have an upstream and you need to add it to your
Yes,
system, which
yes,
we can talk about that separately in a different
yes.
episode. But
We
yeah, that's a good,
also
good,
that,
that's a good challenge.
and also one more thing to just highlight here, when we were talking about blocked, if you, like we all have noticed that it cannot be a separate column. because the moment you put it as a separate column, that means you are talking about that, okay, the work goes through that stage.
Oh, Soma, this is a totally that needs a complete episode.
Yes,
Let's don't open the can
definitely.
of war.
Yes, just going to highlight it, but yes, now we can definitely wrap up because we have covered a lot of things in today's episode. What is a pull system?
Hmm.
What kind of work should be selected or
Yeah.
prioritized when you are pulling, when you have capacity? And also, what is like push system? How
Hmm.
it is different than a pull system that we mean in Kanban. So I
Hmm.
believe these are the takeaways from today's session. Also, how to handle blocked items, internal
Absolutely.
versus external.
Good one. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for
Thank
listening.
you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Orod. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye.